So today I'm going to be showing you domain registration and setting up hosting. I personally use Namecheap. I have been for several years. I've used other services in the past. I've had clients that use various services. And over time, and I guess being a part of the industry, there are some platforms that support causes that I'm not aligned with. And so this is sort of your opportunity to make an ethical choice. I'll give you an example. So GoDaddy, let's look up internet censorship. So GoDaddy is one of those platforms I don't support because they actually supported SOPA and PIPA. These are censorship bills and throttling and that sort of thing. So to put your support behind that sort of thing, it really fundamentally changes what the internet is meant for. Something to keep in mind. Another one is 1N1. Yeah, exploitation. Yeah. So this basically, I mean, you can just look at the results yourself, but 1N1 was known to use women inappropriately as a way of selling domains. And it just seems a bit ridiculous, especially as a father. I have two daughters. Something I can't support, right? So Namecheap has done several things that are sort of aligned with me. Something to think about when you're making purchasing decisions. So to get started with, there's a few ways we can go about this. I'm on Namecheap's homepage, and you can see that they have like several promotions going on here. And I'll sort of cover decision making right now. So we have the ability to sort of search for a domain, and let's just say you're not sure what top level or TLD, top level domain you want. So .com is an example of a TLD. .net is another one. .org, .edu is restricted. .gov is also restricted. So if I were to type in any keyword, let's just say keyword, what Namecheap will do is generate results for domains that might be available. And it's saying this one's available, but you have to make an offer, and whoever is currently holding on to this and selling it off, what will happen is you have to sort of meet that number. So as you can see, it's an expensive one. Of course, keyword, right? But you can see here there's a global one that's available, and a few others that might be more reasonable. Anyways, we can find alternatives. There are also systems that you can use online. For today's demo, I'm going to register GRC 339, and luckily the .com is available for me. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to add this to my cart. And it's already offering me web hosting. And if I click on this, right, we can look at a monthly or an annual sort of system fee or hosting fee. I only really need it for a month. I'm just using it for this demo, so I'll go with that. One thing to note is, even though if we look at their hosting plans, there are certain hosting plans that they offer. So if we scroll down here, they come with a domain or a discounted domain. So there is a $0 per month domain-based email. So make sure you read what the hosting is for. What you probably want is shared hosting. So there's shared hosting here. Let's see what they say about shared hosting. So US data center, ideal for, I would say, everyone in this course. Unless you have a UK-based client, you might want to switch that. But we can see here, if I hover over this information symbol, we get a flyout that basically says we get certain top-level domains for free. And then if we look over here, .coms are actually listed here. We get 38% off. And then over here, basically the same thing. So you can choose if you want to go with these plans and sort of do it for a year. They will throw in a free top level domain, but there might be a cheaper option. So what you can do is look up Namecheap coupon. And so promos/coupons, and then you can see that there is a email hosting sale, and then there's this bundles DOMs. So if you register, you'll get this. So we'll click on that. You can see the discounts are listed here. Not too big a deal, but it depends on what you're trying to get. So if I copy this, we'll kind of go through the same process. And if I go back to my cart, you can see that if I try to use this, they'll want me to register in order to get access to this deal. They also allow me to add hosting over here. So we want web hosting. So if I click this, it's going to add this annual deal. I can also go back to their homepage. I know I'm jumping around a lot. I'm just trying to show you everything. So let's just do the actual registration. So shared hosting is what we want. If you were running a WordPress site, this is optimized for it. If you're going to resell multiple, if you're going to host multiple sites for other people, you probably want to go with this. From my experience, this is the same as shared. They're just allowing you to host multiple sites. It's better to go from shared to VPS. So you get dedicated resources on a larger server, and then dedicated, quite expensive, a little overkill, depends on what you're trying to do. So I'm just going with shared. We'll get 20 gigabytes and we can host 3 websites with it, and they'll throw in a domain name if it's a .info. So I'm going to click on get started. I only want the monthly because I'm doing it for a month. I have my own server. I can use that. But for today's recording, I'm showing you the option where they send me an email and that sort of thing. So I'll show you all of that. So here's the domain that I have associated. Luckily, they picked it up. But if I were to do this, I can actually fill in the name and then it'll give me some options from there. Yeah, it's already in cart. And that's fine. So we'll add this to cart. My total is going to be $11.94. Great. So let's add that to the cart. Now, as I said, I'm not logged in. So I'll just quickly sign in. I have two-factor authentication enabled. So always a good idea for security, especially if you're managing a lot of websites. We'll go back to the cart. I'll try to blur that out. I didn't get consent from the people I'm hosting and registering domains for. Anyways, so here's what we have. We can see that we have our domain registration. There's this mandatory ICANN fee. Yeah, you can't get away from that. And then we have WhoIsGuard. Now, WhoIsGuard is something that redacts or obfuscates. It basically hides the information that allows people to contact you directly or find out who you are. So what they do is they give you a fake email address that routes email to your actual email address. It's just a good way of reducing spam, right? So they offer it for free forever, which is amazing. Let's try that code, see if it gives us any discount. It might be 20 cents. Yeah, it's literally 20 cents. Okay. And then, yeah, we have our hosting. We're not doing a VPN. We don't need email. We don't need SSL. So we're good. So I'll just confirm the order. It has my information on file, but I do have to confirm something. So I'm just going to accept the terms and conditions below. And I'm not going to show that because personal information is there. So let me just pause the recording. So we're just waiting for everything to get processed. In the meantime, I will be getting an email. Okay, so that's all done. So with the email that I received, I'll pull it up over here in a second. Let me just bring this over. So here's the email that I got from them, just showing that I got. Has the approval numbers and whatnot. We'll also be getting another email in a second that I'll bring over to my screen that sort of contains login information. So for whatever reason, it's saying it's a dangerous email. Yeah, Google seems to have marked it for whatever reason. So I'm just gonna open it up. Yeah, yes, it looks safe. Okay, so here's my package information, the host, the IP address, and then we can access cPanel by logging into Namecheap account and whatnot. Okay, DNS. So these are my two DNS. Namecheap is doing it for me. They're saying we can secure, and they'll do it automatically. So it's funny because they offered SSL for an additional payment, but cPanel actually offers it to us anyways. And then we have our password, which I'm going to copy. And we also have the username. So let's go over here and manage this. Okay, so I'll just have to filter by the domain. So GRC. Okay, so there's the domain. Let's manage it. Okay. So under products, we'll see our hosting. Right? There's our SSL certificate. There's our hosting. And I can go to cPanel from here. So the control panel is where you can upload your files without using FTP. Okay, the certificate will eventually get installed, so you don't have to really worry about that right now. But we're presented with a lot of options here. If we go to File Manager, that's how we can sort of FTP into our site. There is also the option of manually creating your own FTP accounts. Typically, the username and password that they give you, which is right here, it will work. But you can also create your own. Just make sure you append this at the end. The simplest way, I don't even think we have to get into using an FTP, is just use the file manager. And so if I jump into the file manager, you want to put all your files into the public HTML folder. So that's probably the most important part here. I'll zoom in so that you can see this. So the public HTML file or folder is where we're going to go. So just double click and you can upload all your assets in here. So if I were to visit grc339.com, right, it's showing up, it's ready to go. If I go back here and if I were to create a new file, so I can go up here and say new, let's call it index.html. So there it is. Let's see if it shows up now. And so it's a blank page, it's an empty page, and that's what I expected to see. I can even edit it right from here. We have an HTML editor. That's what I would recommend using. You don't have to worry about that first part. So as you can see, Emmet does not work. But just to show you that things are working, I can just say hello world, the typical thing that coders like to add. At the moment, I think, yeah, I'm not even editing source. So we have to switch to source view. And yeah, there it is. So I can just put in GRC339. I forget what the whole thing is, web design and something. And the body. This is where our actual content will go. So yeah, Emmet's not working. I'm so used to using those shortcuts. So we'll just say this, hello world. And then we'll just say for the GRC339 class. Okay, so now that that's done, I'll hit save. And if we reload this page, we got it. You can see the title's changed. There's our hello world. So that's all there is really to this. It's a pretty quick tutorial. Just for fun, I'll poke around cPanel and just show you some of the options in here. So because I've zoomed in so much, you can see their layout is responsive. There are some breakpoints. If you wanted to install WordPress, for example, there's an entire WordPress manager. It'll do the install. You can manage your databases also. It's MySQL. And PHP MyAdmin is the way you do that. A little outside of the scope of this course. Sometimes they offer a content delivery network. It looks like this hosting package does not. But if you do want to add a content delivery network to what you're doing, you could go to a site like this, Netlify. Another one that you could use is Cloudflare. It's probably the most common one that comes up. And if we use their content delivery network, there is a free plan that you can use. They don't make it easy to find, it looks like. But yeah, look into this. And one of the things that I'd like to see when you deploy is either the use of a content delivery network for your images or using next generation image file formats. So use a picture element tag and embed an AVIF or something else as an option. Yep. So you see the free one is available, Global Content Delivery Network. So if I add a website, of course I'll have to sign in and all that. I do have an account already, so I could just use my existing account. Yeah, so you can see some of the sites I've already added in here, but literally I just say grc339.com and they'll tell you what happens next. So just the free plan. All right, it's going to analyze our DNS records and it's going to say you need to create yeah, so yep. So here we go. It's saying log in and add this as your name server and add this one as your name server. So that basically means Cloudflare will do DNS for our domain. And so if I wanted to set this up, I just copy this and we go back to our cPanel, not our cPanel, but our domain, and we manage our domain. So first step, access your domain. In here, you'll see that there's actually a tab for advanced DNS, but that's not what we want. We want to change the name servers to custom DNS. So we want to use Namecheap to manage our DNS servers. So I'll paste that in here. And then what I'll do is I'll paste in the other option that Cloudflare gave us, which is right here. I could have just clicked here to copy it. That would have been easier. And then I'll go back here and just paste that in. Once I'm done with that, check the checkbox, right? Save it. And it will propagate, meaning the update will go out to all the network servers, and Cloudflare will now become my content delivery network. Netlify and a few other organizations, they'll have different processes for this. For example, they'll want you to create a CNAME account. So if you're not using Cloudflare, you would go into the advanced DNS section. And because I've switched my DNS, I don't actually have access to it now. But in this area, I would have been able to add more host records. And sometimes they'll want you to use a CNAME record, but you'll have to edit your code and point it. Cloudflare's sort of approach is way easier because you just point to their DNS servers and they handle the rest. So they'll start hosting your site. All of the static assets will go through them. That includes JavaScript and image files and CSS and whatnot. So really, really powerful, really great way to optimize your site. And I can say done, check. Right, so it's asking us to do a bit more. We can finish that later. But just to give you an overview, it's asking you, do you want to send people to the HTTPS version of your site? Of course. So we'll save that. Always use it. Of course. There's no real downside here. Basically, if you forget the S in HTTPS, your visitor will automatically get pushed to the encrypted version. Great, let's do it. Minify your stuff. Yes, and this is when I'm assessing your deployment, this is the kind of stuff that I'll be looking for. Have you optimized your site and whatnot? So if you use Cloudflare, like you're going to get marks for it. If you do it yourself, that's cool too. There's online Minify tools. So I can say Minify JS, and we have a JavaScript minifier, and it also does other ones. And you can just paste it in. It'll do it for CSS also. There's an option for that. This site, not quite, but other sites will have it. And so you can use their minifier in order to set that up. Okay, so yeah, minify it, like hands off. Yes, compression. So I mentioned this in one of the lectures where I talked about compression. Brotli, gzip. I personally love Brotli because it's more efficient. It compresses a lot better than gzip. So yeah, this is the latest stuff. Amazing. And so that's our summary finish. Like super easy. This sort of stuff would take me a few hours to set up on a server, and they just do it for you. Okay. There's a lot of features in here. I'm not going to get into all of them, but poke around. Like it's really, really cool what they offer you for free. Pretty impressive. When your site gets bigger, you can pay for the service. Like they do a really good job. And, you know, analytics are also available. Of course, no one's been through the site. So let's visit it and see if it's already registering the traffic. The problem is I visited GRC 339 earlier. And so I might still be going through Namecheap's DNS. So I'm just reloading it now. Nothing's been registered. Let's just try reloading and see if it refreshes. Yeah, I assume it's an asynchronous thing, like it'll just refresh automatically. But here's a little tool that might help. It's whatsmydns.net. And if I put in grc339.com, and I'm looking for the name servers, so NS, and I search, I can see that everywhere is using Cloudflare, which is great. So it propagated really fast. I would say typically this takes like 2 hours when you do a switch, but because it's a new registration, I think everyone was still updating at the same time. So the internet's working really fast right now. Okay, so we can close that. We're done with this. Right. So in your file manager, you can also upload. So these extra items that you see when you first start, you don't need them actually. You can just get rid of them. And so I have my index.html file. If I go back to GRC339, now that we're going through Cloudflare, you might have a delay between when you deploy a file and when it shows up on Cloudflare. So let's just try this and see if I can make that happen. Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay, so here's that file. So I'll just put something like 2020, and we can save that. Right, so it's successfully saved. And now I'll reload the page. 2020 did show up. So it looked like it did happen right away, but it might be because I'm still going directly to the IP address of the server. Okay. I think that's all I need to cover for today. I will be available the whole tutorial, like during the labs. If you have trouble registering your domain and whatnot, just get in touch. And that's all for today.